Hey, it's Don. Today I'm going to throw some more stuff out at you here. I have had some questions, and Chris threw out some real good questions here, so I'm going to address some of those, and we're going to go to my page in just a few moments. We're going to look at a listing, and I'm going to talk about a breakdown on the actual listing page, some things to help you and not help you. And we're going to touch a little bit on SEO and some of the things that you need to know about that. That's basically search engine optimization, SEO, which kind of helps to guide people to your listings to some extent. Now, the number one search SEO there is from Google. Google does most of it. That's what you really want. The next biggest one that's important is Amazon, believe it or not. 56%. Now, these are from several different surveys, and I read up on all this stuff, so I don't play around with information like that. You can look it up yourself. It's 56-point-some-odd% of every search for a piece of merchandise is already on Amazon. That's the first place most people go. Then they'll look somewhere else and come back as well. So what you want is to make sure that the keywords that you see on an Amazon listing are similar or the same, not in the same order. Don't go copying Amazon title listings, but it's a big plus if it shows up on Amazon in a certain way. That's what I do. And I've talked about this before. So not only that, but you also want to make sure that the items that you are searching show up as well on Google. So you want them on Amazon and Google, and you can keyword them the same way on eBay. So that's just one of the things to consider. The next biggest thing is that mobile first is what the technology is switching to now. Probably don't know what that is. Maybe you've never heard of it. Maybe there's some out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. That's fine either way you go. Mobile first just basically means there's two ways to search. More people search on their phone now than search on a laptop or a PC. It's just a fact. I'm a PC laptop person, so I'll never give that up to do it by phone. It's just not practical for me. But with the mobile first, there's basically two types of searches. There's one that you would use on your home and the laptop, and then there's the other one that would come from your mobile device. The mobile device are the ones that will search and queue first. So some of the keywords that you want to make sure that they're accessible for the mobile market. Like eBay now has literally, I think they've switched everything over though, where it's all perfectly fine and syncs up with the phone apps that they're out there now. So you can search it perfectly fine on eBay's phone app. And I know a lot of people complain about eBay's phone app, but there's more to it. It's a small, condensed version of an application. Just because you don't see all the features on the phone that you want doesn't mean that there's a bunch of other stuff going on in there. There's hidden stuff to help, searches and all kinds of other criteria in that program, or the app. So it only can be so big to actually fit on your phone and be practical with the PC power, I guess you could say, on your phone. So let's go over there, and I'm going to talk about the actual listing page and answer some of Chris's questions here. And again, Chris asked some questions here. I'm just going to go over the whole page and my do's and don'ts and why I do and why I don't do something. And hopefully that'll answer all Chris's questions as well as some other similar questions I've had. Now, from the start of this, I use the most important part I try to put at the front of the actual title here. Now, there's not always a best wording you should use on any specific item if it's vintage. You never know what somebody's going to be looking up for the item. In fact, this is actually wrong there. We don't want that hyphen. So we've got steel plate engraving. That's what the item is I want to be pushing. And Buford's the company that made it. That's the keywords. I never use a subtitle ever. I don't pay for it. I also never use standout. I don't think that's key. That's only if they're scrolling. You try to have keywords in there so they're not just going to be randomly looking for your item. The only way they're going to randomly look for it too and actually be able to see your item is if you're doing zoom-ins on a specific item. So just keep that in mind when you're doing these. Zoom-ins are always better because they can see it. It highlights the item. So that's just part of the keys that I use on these. Again, picking the category. And for any items, I'll put the condition description in this category here. That's literally about all I'm doing. When I'm doing a listing, every listing that I do, I'm typing a title, putting in the condition, the photos, and the price. Everything else is usually the same. Now, like these item-specific categories, if it's in the title, I don't worry about this at all. I just use these to fill in more space. So let's say I don't have enough space in the title to list a type of advertisement or a date of creation or if it's modified or anything like that. This is where I'll list that information, and only that type of information I list down here, and only if it's needed because I can't fit it in the title. This is just what I've done for years. And I've come to this conclusion after doing All kinds of different options on here. Again, I don't use any of this on any item unless it'll help me out to be able to put some more wording in the title for a keyword search. Again, down here, this was part of the question Chris had. I notice you don't put much in your description. This is the description. This is in every one of my listings, basically this little bit right here. So basically, if I'm listing a Victorian trade card, that is all it says. Up for auction is an original vintage Victorian trade card in decent condition for its age. And then I advertise that I have many more of that same item, no matter what I'm selling. So if this was a vintage Marks toy, I would put up for auction as an original vintage Marks figure, whatever the case may be, in decent condition for its age. I have many other Marks figures up now. Same for everything. I'd just word it a little differently depending on what it is. Instead of the packed card, it would be the packed figure. Same thing with a postcard or a movie poster or a still or a record. Everything condition-wise goes up top. Why do I do that? Because you actually have to click on a button or click on your phone or tap your phone to zoom in just to see the description. So you want as much information these days as you can to show up on the very top. So what you want is anything you can list in the condition line, list it there only. In the condition area, I also list the size. So I don't try to jam that up usually in the title because it takes up keywords. So again, keep it simple. Look at a phone and look at your items on a phone and see what shows up. You'll notice real quickly that to read the description, you have to click or tap your phone, and most people don't want to do that. Most people don't even look at the description. Again, going back to the SEO, more than half of every search for any item that you're selling is from a phone. So zoom in on the phone aspect of it, as I said. So again, put everything where you can see it on the main search page. So as soon as they enter in onto the item, they don't have to do a secondary zoom in or a click or a tap or anything to get into the description. Put as much stuff as you can into the condition description of it. That's what I do. Again, there's not much else to say. It's already in the Victorian trade cards, so I don't even need to say, hey, it's a Victorian trade card. Sometimes it's in the title, sometimes it's not in the title for me. It doesn't matter. If you're in the Victorian trade card section, you don't even need it in the title at all. I try to fill up space on some items and run them across to fill up that entire character side. It depends on what I'm selling, though. So again, this is what I do. I don't have to do anything when I'm listing. I type in a title. Obviously, if I'm changing categories, I change the category in my star category. I'll just type in a condition. The card does have age-related wear as shown. And that's literally what I'll do. And then they'll type the size in there if I don't have earlier. This is an older listing. I'm just pulling one up to show you. That's all that there is that I'm typing in on any listing almost across the board. Again, size I might have to type in if I am not having a ruler on it. All this, again, I leave blank. On this, too, display a large photo and search results with gallery. You got to watch out because sometimes they charge in certain categories. So I don't worry about the region, the color, or any of that other stuff of it here. And down to the description, up for auction is an original vintage Victorian trade card. Again, that's all I list in here. I've got some other things like links and stuff. Now, these you have to make sure there's a button up here that's called Mobile Friendly Checker. And this will check it. In fact, see, I've got some off on my own on here right now. Again, this is an older listing, so it's just a matter of a click. This is what you want to look at. Come up here and check every one of these right off the bat. And check them all out as you do it. Again, I haven't checked every listing like this. That is one of my faults here because I've got so many up. It's hard to go back and change thousands, even in some cases 10,000 when they change something like that. That is a new push, a new initiative, and something new they've added in the last year or two. So again, items that have been up for a certain length of time, I don't have that corrected in here. But we are working on them. I've said I've pulled many listings down. Sometimes I'm pulling 1,000 down at a time, and we'll correct those, delete them, or bolt them together, and then relist them again at that point. So that's the key here. Always do the mobile friendly. That is 100% what you want to do in everything. And again, I'm working my way through the old listings. All my new listings are set up. I'll only do sell similar from certain listings that are basically templates for a category because I know that listing is correct on all of the aspects of it. So when you come down to here, it's fixed price. Duration good till canceled. I mean, those are the basic options. I put the buy it now price in, let buyers make an offer every time. I do charge sales tax just like you're supposed to. Easy ones here. All of my business policies are set to default on this one. I picked the category that I had the most items up for sale in, paper items, so that is my default for all of these. And all of these are pretty much set up similarly. So if you're listing, again, I talked about time saving the other day. So if I'm listing a bunch of trade cards, I'm just zipping through here. If I'm listing 50, 100 trade cards, I'm doing a title. This category is the same, so I don't touch it. I don't touch my store category. I don't touch used. I don't even have to touch the wear condition statement because all the cards I only sell if they're in good condition. So all I'm doing is then doing the photos. I bop all the way down here and I pop in a price, and then I'm just listing it. That is all I do on a listing. So I say it doesn't take but a minute or two to list. So folks that are having problems doing it, simplify it. Cut it down to whatever you're doing here. Now, if this was a candlestick, I would put up for auction as a vintage candlestick as shown. That would be it. That would be it down here. I've got another template just for items like that as well, too. And again, all I'd have to do is up the photos, and in the condition, I'd just put all the details about the candlestick. Candlestick appears to be in good condition as shown. I cannot find any issues wrong with it. Something along that line. Keep it simple. I try to only put stuff in here, only the condition. The photos show pretty much everything else. If there's something wrong with it, you list it in the condition line, and you don't have to change much at all other than a couple words down here, and that is it. And again, some of my templates, I don't have the packed with cardboard, so I don't even have to worry about that either. That line is gone. That's all I do. I have one set standard for pretty much everything. It makes it simple. It keeps it easy. It saves time. Again, time save everything. Don't type anything in you don't need to have. Most people don't read the description. Over half of the people are doing it from the phone. The description doesn't mean much at all to them. Now let's just look over here for just a second. Again, this is what you're looking at. I'll get that in a second here. This is what you're looking at. You've got the title, nothing down there. Here's the condition. So all they have to do is look at this one spot to see. The rest of it you can clearly see from the actual photos. So that's just a touch on this. Hopefully that answers those questions, Chris. Again, I don't need any special keywords. I don't need the item specifics for that category. And almost 99% of what I sell, it's unimportant. As long as it's in the title and I have it in the correct category for that item. And in many cases, the category even isn't that specific. You can list many items in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different categories, depending on your item, of course. The more categories you can list an item in, no matter what the item is, the better chance you have at selling it. So, and let me just touch on another thing while we're here. We talked about different platforms and knowing your platforms. Keep this in mind. The majority of people searching for something to buy, and I said this earlier, go to Amazon first. It's like 56% of every person looking to buy anything goes to Amazon first. So use that as a basis for some of what you're doing. If you're not on Amazon as well, you're losing a huge chunk of potential. So if you're not on Amazon, you're losing a huge chunk of potential. If 56 out of every 100 people looking for something goes straight to Amazon for whatever they are looking for, and you're not on Amazon, you're really losing out. That's what I can tell you about why it's essential, why it's key, why you should branch out into some areas. You may not sell something that can sell on Amazon, but I sell vintage and collectibles on there too. Some sell and some don't on Amazon. Just keep that in mind. Amazon's it's a whole different monster than, say, eBay. We're going to go back over to some close-ups here in a minute, and I'm going to address another issue here. I had some questions on the scanner that I use. So we're going to talk about the scanner now, and we'll pop over there right now. They look at the condition statement, so that's why I've moved it there. So here we are. This is the scanner that I use. This is the Epson DS510. There's no real rhyme or reason. I wouldn't buy one of these new. There's actually a 640, I believe, is the other one. There's several versions of this. This is an older one. These run about $100, I would say. Again, DS510. I'm going to show you just how easily this is to scan something. So let's scan some cards here just so you can get the gist of it. Again, I put one in at a time. You can set up your location. You can do pretty much anything you want when you're scanning these. So let's just show you how easy it is to scan with this. This is a duplex scanner. It does both sides of the card at the same time. You can see how quick. Some people like the Popeyes postcards. He puts a stack on there. I don't do that because I want to make sure I can determine which side and which way I'm going to scan. The newer, the smoother the paper, the quicker and easier it will go through. If it's a little crooked, it will actually correct that if you set it up that way. So I'm at an angle here, so I might be a little off on crookedness, but you'll get the gist of it. I'm just trying to show you the speed and the usefulness of one of these. I've got a couple of these now. And as I've said in the past, I've had 7 different scanners. This is the best one that I have. rule of thumb, just place it against one side kind of firmly, and then it will actually pull it correctly without cock-eyeing it. Again, you can correct these just like anything else. You can flip in a different size card in the middle of it. I could stick in a piece of paper the next time out. Again, I don't have these straight. If I was sitting in front of it, I would have them in the correct way. I'm just trying to, again, show you how easy it is to scan through these. So you can see it's very easy to scan these. Let's see, how many did I do just like that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 15 in like less than a minute. Now, I also use a Nikon D5300 for all the big paper and every single thing else. So between the Epson DS510 and the Nikon D5300, I don't need anything else to take photos. That does everything for me. And of course, I would not give away my D5300 to save my life. I love that camera. It does everything I need for any of the other stuff. It does awesome jewelry photos, awesome item photos too. And again, I can't scan everything. So, well, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some thoughts here. The next video I have coming out is going to be a BOLO list for you, and it's going to address the top 20 religious items that I find that you should be able to find as well, that you should be able to flip for decent money. I sell a religious item every other day, probably on average, through the normal time of the year. Now, during Christmas and Easter, I sell a lot more. I may sell multiples in the same day, every day of the week for several weeks in a row during certain times of the year. So just keep that in mind. And as usual, this is video number 26. If you have any questions or anything like that, just pop them down below. I will have another question and answer as well as some other videos, as I said. We were working hard to get some other stuff situated. So there will be some changes and some new things coming out for you. So just keep an eye out for it. That's what we have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when we post new content or go live. Subscribe and fry. Well, that's what we have for you. Okay. Well, that's what.